Hello, and welcome back. Another week, another segment, another episode of the delicious Better Than Ice Cream. Guys, how are you all doing? Amazing to have you all with me again this week as we tune in to another exciting episode. I am Bashira, your host. I am from London, UK, England, coming to you live and direct from the UK. I am a singer, a songwriter, an actor, also a vocal and a voice coach and a producer. But today, as always, week to week, I am here as your host to basically, entice you, bring you into the amazing happenings that have been happening week to week with our amazing cast in Better Than Ice Cream. It's an amazing love audio drama series written and produced by the amazing Diana Copeland and directed by Julia Sadinsky. It's also the first radio theatre production for Clubhouse TV network. So it's quite special in its whole rollout, this production. And I'm really honoured to be the face and the voice for Better Than Ice Cream. And it's been amazing having you guys, the audience, week to week with me, going through what is actually happening in the lives of our main characters, Janie and Lance. So let's do a little recap about what happened last week. So if you recall, Janie and Lance actually bumped into each other at a restaurant where Janie was with Derek and where Lance was with Stacey. Now, Stacey's pregnant. So there's this awkward kind of interchange between both Lance and Janie, who are not expecting to see each other. But we know, don't we, that behind the scenes, sly little Stacey and also devious Derek have actually been in cahoots, in conversation behind the backs of both Lance and Janie, who are completely unaware that these two ex-partners, who are now their present partners, are actually in dialogue and discussion about how to ensure that Janie and Lance do not actually connect. So everything that we've seen up to this point has really been something that's been put together and instigated at the hands primarily of Stacey, but Derek has also been helping her because they both want their ex-partners back. So guys, week to week, we're seeing how this is rolling out. Can you imagine what's going to happen this week? Because obviously how we ended last week, we had Janie very adamantly now making her mind up that she was going to marry Derek. Now, we know, guys, don't we, this is actually a rebound. This is coming off of the back of what Janie's witnessing between Lance and Stacey. She's thinking that these guys are in love. They're happy, they're about to have a baby, and it's, ultimately what has our Janie got? She's got her amazing career, and she's just been offered an amazing offer by the publicist, who was gifted a Bentley, no doubt, by Derek. But at the end of the day, if Janie agrees to go, basically bring her marriage to the public domain by way of, using it as some sort of, marketing resource, that basically Janie will land the position of a lifetime in terms of her career. And ultimately, I get a sense that Janie would have actually rejected that, for Lance's love and for Lance being back in her life. But because she's now perceiving that Lance and Stacey are reconnected, getting back together, going to have a child, and she's absolutely devastated. And she decides, okay, you know what? She turns back up to the table with the publicist and Derek, and she says, when is the date? When are we getting married? So it was like literally left like that last week in terms of the cliffhanger. So this week, guys, we are going to see how the next segment of Better Than Ice Cream rolls out. Are you excited? I am. I'm going to be sitting like this. Oh my gosh! Because week to week, it's so hot, so delicious. There's so many twists and turns, and I think the writing is absolutely phenomenal. So we definitely have to congratulate Diana Copeland for some excellent writing there. But guys, are you ready? Because I certainly am. Let's count it down and go into the next episode of Better Than Ice Cream. Yay!
Awesome. That was perfect.
Cool.
So, you're doing a really good job of not spilling over the beans.
Sure.
About the next episode, which is hard to do because you have to really stay focused on.
Yeah, absolutely.
What
on the head? Yeah, totally.
Yes. And that's why I didn't send you 8 because I said that's a lot. I don't want her to get confused.
Sure.
So now we're going into after you've seen it, obviously.
Sure.
And so it's episode 7,
sure.
where Lance and Stacy seem to be getting close.
Yeah. And also what I sense as well, there's a little bit of a vulnerability that's coming out of Stacy. Maybe because she's pregnant. But you can see that she actually really does love Lance. But just the way that she's gone about it, was quite unethical, because she's literally just disconnected him from a woman that he actually loves. And he makes a point of telling her, look, I'll be here for you and the baby. But he's quite distinct in saying you and the baby. I'm not here for you. I'm not your guy, you know?
Yeah.
But it's quite endearing, her vulnerability, the way that it comes forward, because you ultimately just get to see that she actually just loves this guy and she just wants him back in her life. And by any means necessary.
By any means necessary. She is not trying to let Lance go at all. She's trying to get this girl out of the way.
Exactly.
She's in my way.
Exactly. And equally with Derek, you see Derek kind of come to the realization that he recognizes that Janie's not happy with him. And he knows that she's marrying him literally off of the back of not getting it together with Lance.
Yes.
So I think that was quite a humbling moment for him as a man.
Very humbling.
Put his ego to one side and recognize that ultimately I just want you to be happy. And for Janie to recognize that and say, you know what, look, Lance has moved on. He's doing what he's doing with Stacy, and I'm here with you. So it's quite a strange one, because you get to see that both, at the end of the day, both Janie and Lance, they actually want to be together. That their past has caught up with them in a way, especially for Lance, which makes it quite difficult. So, let's see what happens in episode 8.
Yes. So, and when you talk about it, you know, at the end of 7, when she's saying goodbye to Lance, I really want the listeners to believe that, you know, there's no chance.
Okay.
Like, it's over now. You know, like, now that she realizes it.
Okay, so I'll start with that then, because that's how it ends episode 7, where
she's saying goodbye to him with all the memories.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Do you have any questions from any audience members, or just dialogue?
We don't have questions.
Okay, that's all right. So I'll just.
You can make some up if you want.
That's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Yeah, I'll just dialogue. Okay. Yeah, no worries.
All right.
Alrighty.
Here we go.
Hello and welcome back. Wow, what an episode. Where do we start, guys? I think ultimately we need to look at the fact that Janie is completely heartbroken. She is in deep reflection about her very brief, intimate relationship with Lance. The fact that unexpectedly it's all literally just crumbled. Ultimately, you can see by the way that Janie's reflecting and her level of, I guess, interaction with Derek around the fact that, you know, she clearly believes that it's over, you know. And obviously we can look at what's just happened between Stacy and Derek, and it definitely looks like this is it, you know. Janie and Lance, even though they both love each other, are literally worlds apart. They have so much going on in their personal lives that has just driven them apart. And where does it all go from here? Where could it possibly go from here? I mean, we also have to acknowledge the fact that Derek has finally been man enough to admit that he ultimately only wants Janie to be happy. And he recognizes that Janie is in love with Lance. And so he admits to the fact that the letter was not at his hand. The letter was in fact written by Lance. So that declaration of love, the apology, it was all coming from Lance. However, Derek allowed Janie to believe that it was from him, because just like Stacey, by any means necessary, he wants Janie back, just as Stacey wants Lance back. But I think there was quite a moment for both partners of Janie and also Janie and Lance, where they recognize that these people are in love with someone else. You know, Stacey's totally aware that Lance is in love with Janie, as Derek is aware that Janie is in love with Lance. Sort of a bit confusing, isn't it? But that's ultimately what's going on. And you also get a sense of vulnerability, I thought, from Stacey, where, you know, obviously she's pregnant, and now she's recognizing that at the end of the day, she wants this relationship to work with Lance. But Lance is very specific in telling Stacey that ultimately he will be there for her and the baby. He does not make a distinction that he's there for her. He doesn't utter the words, "I love you." He doesn't even talk about a marriage. You know, it's very much him owning up and taking on board his responsibility about becoming a father. And he admits to himself that he's quite excited now that it's sunk in that he's actually going to be a dad. So you can kind of see where him and Stacey can kind of literally just drift off into the sunset. They'll have their child and, you know, kind of live happily ever after, right? Because ultimately, you know, Lance is in love with Janie. And then ultimately, when you look at Janie, you know, I mean, her career is completely blown up. She's all over the place, you know, on Google searches, her name comes up and Lance is there, you know, searching out her name. And, you know, she's literally just climbed to the top of her career, which is phenomenal. I think for any woman, especially Black women, which is where, you know, this last episode picks up on. It's just phenomenal that she can use her gifts and her talents to propel her forward in her chosen career path. And ultimately, as a female looking, I'm like, more power to you, Janie. You know, concentrate on that which ultimately fulfills you, your purpose. Your purpose fulfills you. It's nothing that can be taken away by anybody else. You literally have the reins in your hand to drive your career forward. So I'm really proud that Janie has put the ice cream tub down and she's decided to move forward with her career. Albeit that, you know, she still obviously, you know, has intense feelings for Lance. I mean, the fact that she's looking out of her bedroom window and she can clearly see the baby crib in Lance's bedroom. She can see Lance and Stacey's interaction, and it gets so bad for her that she ends up calling Derek and asking Derek to come over and to pick her up from her mum's and to take her back to his place, because she just can't deal with what she's actually seeing. So there's this whole kind of interchange between our lead characters, Janie and Lance, where they're reflecting on the fact that they love each other, but also that they're not together, and that they're reconciling that they're not together because of the differences that are happening in their life. Obviously with Lance, the fact that Stacey's pregnant, and now with Janie and the reality that she's actually committed herself to marry Derek in a public forum now, which is linked to her career. So there's repercussions there potentially if she pulls out. But I just think looking at this episode, listening to this episode, what I really got present to was, first of all, Stacey's vulnerability, because we don't really see Stacey as vulnerable. We see her as quite hardened, quite determined, quite devious and sly, actually. And in addition to that, obviously with Derek, his recognition that ultimately, you know, Janie is in love with Derek, and he recognizes that, and he's almost willing to let her go back, you know, to Lance, and to let him go and to, you know, put a stop to the marriage. But clearly, you know, Janie makes up her mind and says, no, you know, Lance has made his decision. He's about to be a father, and he's reconnected to his ex-partner, and she leaves it there. But she's quite tearful, quite emotional, you know, and I think for Derek, probably monitoring all of that or observing all of that, he must actually feel quite, I guess, taken aback, because he's recognizing that ultimately he loves this woman, but she's in love with another man. So it's really complicated. And I mean, ultimately, I guess moving forward, when we look at relationships, they are super complicated, aren't they? back in the day, it used to be quite simple where a guy would date a girl or a girl would date a guy or guys dating guys and girls dating girls. The whole trajectory has changed and that's all super cool. But what's really important is the level of integrity and that exchange of truth between these two individuals that are making a declaration to be together and be in each other's lives. That is crucial. That kind of fundamental truth should not be compromised. And we can clearly see in this example or this episode where it has been, because we have Janie and we have Lance that are clearly in love with each other. Feelings have been definitely hurt. Communication has been completely misconstrued. It's come off the chart, and it's caused these two individuals that clearly love each other to be worlds apart. Now choosing different life experiences where Lance is embracing, as he rightfully should, the fact that he's about to be a father. But does he need to be with Stacey in order to father his child? Of course he doesn't. And ultimately you can see he's reflecting on that because he makes it quite clear to Stacey that he'll be there for her and the baby. He does not make a declaration of love, of marriage, of anything moving forward with Stacey as a whole in terms of her becoming his new partner, even though there is this togetherness between them. And that's what I mean about it being so complicated. So guys, where does it go from here? Can you imagine? I've been sitting back thinking, where could it possibly go? Because it's very obvious to me, from the now at least, that Janie and Lance are not going to get back together. How can they get back together? Where? In what reality could they get back together? The fact that Stacey's pregnant, she's clearly in love with Lance. She wants Lance. Lance recognizes his responsibilities as a father, and rightly so. And he's also conscious that Stacey loves him. But does he love her? We'll have to wait and see, right, guys? And then ultimately, Janie is completely head over heels in love with Lance, but she's recognizing that he is now appearing, at least in her world, to be happily settled and ready to enter parenthood with Stacey. And then there's Derek on the outskirts, observing, ready to love Janie the way that he ultimately should have loved her from the beginning. Does he get a second chance to maintain that, relationship moving forward with Janie, or will Janie just literally say no? I'm just going to do me. I'm going to focus on my career. I think if it was me, I'd definitely be like, focusing on the career, focusing on the bag, focusing on the money. The man can come later. But we'll have to see how Diana's written this next segment. So guys, we are going to bid you good day and good night wherever you are in the world, and I look so forward for you joining me next week as we tune into the last and final episode of Better Than Ice Cream. Can you believe it, guys? Our journey for the amazing love audio drama series has literally come to a near end. We have one more episode to go. What will happen to Janie? What will happen to Lance? What happens to Derek? And also what happens to Stacey? You are going to have to tune in. It is so exciting. I really can't wait to see how the final episode pans out. So please do join me next week for the last episode of Better Than Ice Cream. But ultimately, guys, remember that this is streaming. You will be able to see on major multimedia platforms like Apple TV, Android TV, and there's many other network channels that you'll be able to view this on as well. But ultimately, just the engagement on a social media level with the fans of Better Than Ice Cream, for me as a host, has been super amazing. I've really enjoyed all of your questions and your interaction, and I really hope that you'll join me for the last live episode stream of Better Than Ice Cream next week. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Bashira, your host, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care now. Bye.